All right, Master Bentley, we're recording now, so I'm gonna need you to clean up that language you and I just talked. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding. Anyway,
yeah. No more F-bombs. I'm on it. I got it.
yeah, like we're just discussing that last Tiger class. Oh, hey everybody. Uh, so, I have with me Master Robert Bentley. He is. We are really excited because on September, is it 8th and 9th or 9th and 10th? Where's my calendar? I told you I was super prepared for this meeting. Um, I've
My
got
calendar
this.
is in the other room. She tells me wherever I'm going.
There we go. You're
9th and 10th.
9th and
September
10th.
9th and 10th.
September 9th and 10th. So up here in Oregon, in Salem, Oregon, we are having Master Robert Bentley come out to teach live traditional sparring theory. I have heard the legends of this seminar, and so we really wanted to bring it to our region. And I have a general kind of basic idea of the seminar, and I know about the legends. That's what I know. Also, I like the shirt that shows like the chess piece that's lying down. That's got a pretty good thing going to it.
Yeah, that's pretty
But
good. That's not me. That's all Master Grayson that did that.
uh, that guy and his
The
ability
creative
to
one.
just like, I think mad scientist is just that's
Well, when
like,
you say you've heard the legends, I immediately I think, oh my gosh, what did he say about me? Because I do go to places that had Live Extreme first. And then
mhm.
whenever I get there, they're like, yeah, we can't wait. We've been waiting for the seminar. And it's people that I don't even know. And I've never even
Yeah,
met them. They're like, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I hope I live up to. And if you've ever taken a class from Master Grayson, like the energy level is
yeah.
here all the time. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't know how you match that when you spar for 14 hours.
Well,
It's not the same.
I
So
remember like when I think say when I've heard the legends, what I really mean is like I've seen like the people that's like I took sparring theory and here's my first world
yes, sir.
title, and it's like, oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
Because one thing like I one of the reasons I'm excited for this too is because I'll overshare what I feel are my strengths and weaknesses as an instructor. I feel like my superpower, like is breaking stuff down so that white belts can get it, a large number of white belts can get it rapidly and quickly at any age. And my superpower is super boring. My superpower is breaking down the communication, like the idea of like you think you're so smart, but nobody in the room understands what you just taught just now.
Mm.
Only the athletes can do that kick. So my superpower is let's slow down your communication so the white belts
Yes, sir.
understand. But for me, I think one of the as I kind of did like an analysis of what I was missing, like I would say what I've been trying to build but haven't gotten there is systematic development of athletes, like systematic development of sparring. An idea of today, I'm not going to teach what I feel like teaching, but we actually have a thing that builds on things. And so, like sparring theory, just really sound like the cat's meow of like what's the systematic development of how to get like how to install the strategy program into the
Yes, sir.
student's brain. So it's not like today I feel like working on faking because I'm in a faking mood. Um,
Right.
so yeah, so that's why I was excited to bring you up here. Big thanks to Miss Innes because I'm on this one. I'm the host, but my school is a long kind of skinny school with pillars
Yes, sir.
right where they shouldn't be. So I love my school for hitting bags. Oh, it's the best for hitting bags.
Yes, sir.
For managing sparring rings, I'd rather have a big square school. So big shout out and thank you to Miss Innes
Yes,
for
sir.
allowing me to host you in her school. But with that note, Master Bentley, as like you and Master Grayson partnered this, so like because he's got this vision, that kind of thing, and you were the perfect thing person to come along, and you added your vision to it, and you're the one spearing it forward. So, how is sparring theory different from other sparring seminars, or you're gonna show up at the sparring? What makes sparring theory different? 'Cause I know it's different, but
Yes, sir. So first of all, you mentioned Master Grayson, like, and I coming together, and this is it's a long story, but I mean, I'm on this Zoom with you, right? So people are
Mhm.
expecting long story, so it'll be okay. Uh, but Master Grayson and I, just like you and I, and Master Grayson, we've all known each other from competition, and we've
Mhm.
known each other for years, but we had never really um hung out or done anything together. And then we went through mastership training together. And right when we were going through mastership training, he was starting Live Extreme, and I took one of his seminars, and I typecasted him. I was like, "Oh, so you're an extreme guy? Like that's what you are. You're this extreme guy." And one
Mark
day we're
Hamill
having
can't be anything but Luke Skywalker. No one
That's
believes
right.
he's the Joker,
That's right.
right?
You have to just be this one thing. And we were having this conversation one day, and I was like, "Hey, so like, what else do you like to teach? Like, is it there must be something else?" And he was like, "Actually, everyone thinks that I'm an extreme guy, but I'm a sparring guy." And he said when he was I'm going to get this story wrong, but 18 years old, his instructor died, and he had the opportunity to go to Korea.
Mhm.
And he was there for 3 months. And while he was there, he wrote this thing that he called sparring theory. And he's telling me about it one night, and we're talking about it. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And he goes, yeah, actually, had I never done Live Extreme, this would be the thing that I would love to teach. And I was like, well, cool. Why don't you do that? Why don't you do Live Extreme and that? And he said, well, you don't understand. I'm booked for Live Extreme for like more than a year out. And I didn't even know if I believed him whenever he said that. It turned out to be very true, because now I'm in the same boat with Sparring Theory. We're booked a year. I mean, actually, if you think about it, when we booked this, we booked it a year ago,
Yes.
more than a
Yes.
year before the event. That's when we booked it, right?
I think that if I'm correct, I think the count was like 17 months. I think that in
Yes.
the beginning of summer 22, we booked September for 2023.
Right.
So that's
So he
saying
tells
something.
me like it's just not possible for me to teach this and that. He said, but I would love to find a guy. And then in the conversation, he's like, in fact, I think you might be the guy. And I was like, no, man, I'm not a sparring guy. So it's funny that you mentioned that you like to systematically break things down at a white belt level. That's me too.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not a sparring guy. I still tell people that. I still believe that. I'm not a sparring guy. For example, 0 world titles in sparring,
Mhm.
personally. None. Um, and I even mentioned this to Master Grayson when he was like, you should be the one that goes and teaches this. Well, then COVID hits, and we're all sitting around our houses doing nothing, right? And so he invites me and my family down for Memorial Day to just hang out for a week.
Mhm.
And he's like, hey, um, I want to show you more about sparring theory. And if you ever come to a sparring theory seminar, you'll see the chart.
Yeah.
It's this iconic thing. It's just this, it's if you were to almost like the Matrix, if you were to just take sparring and everything that can exist in it and you just put it on a chart, there it is. And
I
so
remember there was a post where you said, "Hey, everybody, here's the chart," and it was face down, but you
it
like
was
gave me
the
a hard
back of it.
time. He's like, "Ah,
Yes. So
my
yeah,
IP."
people freaked out. So he shows this to me and it makes no sense whatsoever. And but then he's like, this is sparring theory. He spends like 8 hours explaining it. And I start to scratch the surface and get it. And then I was like, all right, look, man, I'm not the guy, but like I'm gonna give you a list of the guys that should teach this seminar. And I gave him like, and I'm just gonna say some of them because you would agree with me.
Mhm.
Jesse Isaacs,
Yep.
he's the sparring guy, right? Like he's the guy. He's the one that
Mhm.
I look up to, and everyone else should. I was like,
Mhm.
second of all, in our division, Master Avaducci. I think
Yep.
he's like one of the most well-rounded martial artists in the world, not just in the
Mhm.
ATA. In the world, he's such an
Yep.
athlete. He's so smart. He's so good looking. All the things, right? He checks
Yeah.
all the boxes.
He's the nicest guy ever,
Um,
and then he destroys you. Yeah.
right. Yeah, until he kills you in the match.
Yeah.
But I made this whole list of just people that I respect and I know are better sparers than I am. And then Master Grayson, like the person that he is, if you know him,
Mhm.
he fires back a text that was like one of those where you have to go
Yep.
like this. It was
Mhm.
an essay, and it was all the reasons why he wanted me to do it. And it was stuff that I hadn't thought of. Like one, if you know me, I don't just do taekwondo. I also have a full-time jiu-jitsu program in my school. I'm a brown belt in
Mhm.
jiu-jitsu, and I coach guys in jiu-jitsu all over the place.
Mhm.
I used to have an MMA program. I fought in MMA. I did kickboxing, MMA. I've coached that at a pretty high level. And so I have this experience of coaching that's not just taekwondo sparring. And
Mhm.
he had seen some of that, and and was like, yeah, man, this is like, I don't need a world champion in sparring. I need someone who knows how to coach, knows how to teach. And
Hmm.
it was really nice to hear that, because, you know, in our industry, we're, especially at our level, at the mastership level, we're all
Hmm.
pretty good. But like, if we compare ourselves to each other, I'm like, oh, I'm this guy, and these guys are all
So
great. Well, I
I
mentioned.
remember my first time competing in the sixth degree division. Like, that was when I learned the definition of imposter syndrome. And I remember like
Yes.
going through it as like the, oh my gosh, I'm competing with sixth degree masters. Huh? And I was like, you are a sixth degree master now. I was like, but and I always, to this day, like I tell the students, like I still walk into competition really freaking nervous. And I walk out of competition so glad I did and feeling a deeper
Yes.
bond with everybody. And it's
That's
like
right.
every single time walking in, like, maybe I should step out. I'm scared. And like after that, like, I love you guys.
That that's
you
right.
know?
And anybody who's seen our division knows that that's how it is. And
Mm-hmm.
um, but I went through all of this, and he sent me back my resume. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, look, man. So what I'm gonna do is, like, he had written sparring theory, and it all was Taekwondo sparring. And he was like, but if we're gonna do a seminar, I want to do a combat weapon side. And he knew that I had taught a couple combat weapon seminars at a
Mm-hmm.
smaller level, like within my region, little 3 hour seminars here and there. If I was gonna guest judge at someone's school anyways, and I was then I would jump in. Hey, what's happening? How are you?
He says, "What's happening? How are you?" Because I got my earbuds in.
Well, you got
She
your
says,
earbuds
"Good."
in. I see it now.
Yes. My kids live at my school with me. I never let them go home. They have to clean it.
That's yeah, it makes sense.
Mhm.
So I agreed to write the combat weapons part of it, and then like hand it off to someone else. Well, then Master Grayson, in his, infinite wisdom and also like trickery, he
Yeah.
decided that he was like, well, yeah, let's just prototype it in your school. We'll teach it together, and then we'll see what happens. We did that in April of 2021, and I had a few people come down. It was mostly my students, but I had a few people come down from within our region, from Chicago, and they were
Mhm.
like, dude, if you don't go teach this everywhere, you're doing a disservice to the ATA. And hearing people in my region say that, I was like, whoa, okay, no pressure.
Mhm.
Um, the next thing that I knew, we were booked. We were booked through the end of the year within just a couple months. And then it hasn't slowed down. The thing that I tell people that I think is the biggest difference is that when we wrote it from the perspective of how would you teach your instructors to teach sparring?
Mhm.
And there is a level of athleticism that comes with that, because you have to know how to teach green belt 8-year-olds, and you also need to know how to teach your third degree world champions that are in the same class often.
Mhm.
And if you've taken Live Extreme, it was written the same way.
Yep.
Master Grayson does such a great job with. I'm going to use these phrases that if you haven't done Live Extreme, you might not know, but he does such a great job with earned progression,
Yep.
that you can have this person who's working on just doing a propeller with their bow staff, and on the other side of the mat, someone's doing propeller releases and they're 720ing it, right?
Mhm.
So you can tell I'm not an XMA guy, because I don't even know if those were the right words, but
It checks out.
he
I gotcha.
uses okay, cool. He uses this earned progression, and that is the spirit in which sparring theory was written. Was how would we teach people how to teach it? The
Mhm.
crazy thing is that's how it was written. But when I've been to different cities, the best stories that I've gotten are, because I'll mention that in the Q&A, like, yeah, this was written from an instructor standpoint. If you're not an instructor, you're still going to get a lot out of it, because if you want to know how it works, you got to be able to break it down.
Mhm.
And I was in Ohio. I've been there a couple times, and that is one of the most athletic places I've been.
Mhm.
Um, the number of athletes in the room are at this level, all of them.
Mhm.
The worst guy in the room is here, and they love the seminar because none of them are instructors. None of them are going to go back and teach it. And they're like, we got 14 hours of drills that we can go back and work on.
Mhm.
One of the things that I often say is we have to learn how to measure our success outside of wins and losses. So
Hmm.
we leave a tournament feeling defeated, especially the people who are used to winning. They might win all the time, and then they go to a tournament and they lose, and then they don't know. They're like, man, did I get worse? Well, no, that doesn't necessarily mean that you got worse. It's just you might have improved from your last tournament, but so did all your competition. And so we have to find ways to measure our success outside of wins and losses. And so the athletes in the room love that phrase. And then I'll go to places, I'll go to other cities where it's packed full of instructors, and some of them don't love sparring. Some of
Hmm.
them maybe don't even know how to implement a sparring program in their school. Maybe it's
Hmm.
because of how they were brought up. Maybe it's because of their physical ability, and there's some sort of stigma about sparring. They don't think that they can.
Well, one
And
of the
so
things that I discovered was so frustrating for me. I never thought about this, but what was so frustrating to my students long ago was that the first time sparring is like, here are the rules of sparring. Don't punch each other in the head. Don't kick the leg. Go. And they're like, yeah, but what do I do? And at
right.
first, the instructor's like, you throw your taekwondo. Like there wasn't a there wasn't like there was no starting point for the structure, and I felt like I was expecting like people don't like sparring because they get hit, or people don't like sparring because, and then later on it's like
Well, that,
people don't like sparring because they hit someone else and feel guilty. It's like
yeah,
no, people don't like sparring because they don't know where to start. So like that
they
that
don't.
that jumped out
Yes.
at me.
For me, that's how I started. It was trial by fire. It was just,
Mm-hmm.
hey, put on this gear, go spar. And there wasn't a lot of gear back then either.
Mm-hmm.
So my first class, I got my nose broken by a girl. And
That's got to carry with you.
yeah, and so like it was the first time that I remember wanting to quit taekwondo. Thank God I have a mom that was like, too bad, get your butt in the van, we're going to class. I thank my mom for that every time that I see her, because now this is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time that I remember wanting to quit. It was because I got my nose broke by a girl. And it was because the instructor said, hey, put on the gear, go. And that wasn't my instructor's fault. That's just how it was. Like that's how everyone learned. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, having a system to break down what should sparring look like from the very beginning. Well, first,
Mm-hmm.
just like if we were going to teach someone Song of One, you don't just go into all 18 moves. You have to
Mm-hmm.
teach them stances and blocks and individual strikes. So, how do you start with single offensive attacks, and then slowly build what do combinations look like, and then ultimately, Grandmaster MK asked me this incredible question that I thought was a trick question, or like I was like, why is he asking me? Is he going to tell me how wrong I am and then give me the right answer? Like I got nervous because it was Grandmaster. But back in
Mm-hmm.
February, he was like, hey, I know you've been going around doing all these sparring seminars. Tell me, what do you think is the single like greatest thing that someone can do when they're sparring, or like what does the top level spar do when they're sparring? And I had to think about it for a second, but I was like, well, I know that when I teach a seminar, the ultimate thing that I'm building up to is fakes and counters. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
would you fake it? How would you counter, and why? And how does that work? And we have, it would be an even longer story, but we have a 3 R's method for how that works. And if you come to sparring theory, you learn all that. But it's a complete breakdown of how fakes work and how counters work. And I say this to him, and he's like, that's it, right there. And so when Grandmaster said that, I was like, oh, thank you, sir. That's, because I thought for sure he was going to be like, no, that's not it. It's this. But that wasn't to my credit. That was Master Grayson going, this is the way that sparring theory works. This is like the ultimate goal that we would get to. But then it was something that we agreed on. I have a phrase that I'll say sometimes. I said in the one Thrive that I ever taught, I said, if it's redundant, it's real. And the reason why I said this was because the week before Chief Master Wagaman was teaching a Thrive, and the week after Chief Master Langren Lee was teaching one, and I got sandwiched in between them. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what am I going to say that is relevant at all that they can't say? And so I just mentioned in this Thrive, hey, if he says it and then I say it and then she says it, then it's real. Like whatever we all agree on. Um, and so it was interesting that Master Grayson and I come from completely different backgrounds, he didn't grow up in the ATA, and then he went to Korea and did this Olympic style training. I grew up in the ATA, but I also did MMA and jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and all these other things. And we came to the same conclusions on how sparring works and where we were able to connect those dots. What's interesting is I mentioned there were these instructors that some of them didn't love sparring, and whether that was because of something in their past or they just didn't have the confidence to do it. The greatest thing that I've gotten from teaching the seminars, and I love whenever you mentioned before someone takes a seminar and they win a world title. That's awesome. Like, especially when it's my student, I'm like, yes. But
I think I was in the, no, that was weapons. I remember when Miss Bradshaw took the weapons. I was like, I know where you're from.
yes,
So,
well, then she went on that same day, or well, the next day, whatever it was, to win combat weapons.
mhm.
And she won against another one of my students. And also my wife was in that division in the top 10. They were 1, 2, and 3. And then the student that she beat in combat weapons, that was also my student, won the sparring world title in that same division. Like, that feels really good. But what I'm saying is that is nothing compared to when I've had students that have in a sparring seminar come to me afterwards and go, thank you. Now it makes sense because it's more analytical. Sparring theory becomes this analytical way of thinking about it. We put everything into categories. Within those categories, we have these elements that happen within sparring. And as you said, it becomes systematic. It becomes a thing that you can itemize.
Yeah.
And that's how my wife's mind works.
Mhm.
She didn't consider herself a sparring person, and then when we started teaching this seminar, she was like, "Oh, that chart right there, that makes sense. I need to see it like that."
That's pretty cool. Well, it makes you think. Like I remember way back in the day, this popped into my head. I remember when we were teaching like the self defenses right out of the black belt club book. And there's this little thing like under there. It's like, oh, let the student choose their follow-up technique. Self-defense is kind of fluid and that kind of thing. And so you'd have like, what was it, the crossover, like the jugular notch choke for camouflage belt. And I watched
Yeah,
one of the students like step back and do a jump spin out or crescent kick from there. I'm like, that I'm not. I know it said to choose your own, but that didn't really seem really right. You just must like jump spin on crescent kicks, I guess, or something. It's like,
right,
no,
right.
that's not where it goes. So yeah. So like I just picture that as the opposite of what you're talking about. Like, okay, this thing that you just learned, this is where it fits. This is where it
Yes,
goes.
that's right. Yep.
So cool. Well, I'm excited to bring you out, because and one of the things that I'll tell you what Master Grayson says about you behind your back because I listened to it. I remember like the reputation that you have is they're like, hey, if you they'll Master Bentley will read the energy in the room and he'll match it and bring it up. And so that's what's being said about you behind your back about why
Oh
you're the
boy, I
person
better
for
I
the
better
seminar.
smash those Red Bulls right before I come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'll help you find the coffee shops in town or
I was gonna
that's where.
say, I know they got good coffee out there. I've never been out there, but I hear y'all have some great coffee. I'm gonna need some of that.
We've got some good stuff in
So,
town. Cool. But yeah, so and basically, so everybody, what we've got going on. I'm looking at I don't have Zoom Pro anymore, so it's telling me I have 7 minutes and 48 seconds left. I talk a lot, so I dig it. So again, September 8th and 9th. So is did I get that right or did I biff it again? 8th and 9th or 9th and 10th?
this sounds
September 9th
right.
and 10th is
There
correct.
you go.
September 9th and 10th, sparring theory. So if I'm correct, Saturday, September 9th, it's going to start at 12 o'clock and it's going to
So
go
it's the same
till.
format as Live Extreme. 11 a.m. is a Q&A, and then the seminar
Mm,
starts at noon to 6, and then on Sunday it's 9 to 4,
cool.
14
Um,
hours.
and then again, it's going to cover both sparring and combat in that.
Yeah, so we split it up pretty evenly. If it's a 14-hour seminar, it's 7 hours of combat, 7 hours of sparring, but the concepts are the same. So sometimes I'll start with sparring and then go, okay, now this is what that looks like in combat, or vice versa. Um, there is this other, I mentioned earlier that there's a stigma in sparring, but also there's a stigma in sparring seminars, especially 14-hour ones. I
Mm,
can't possibly spar for 14 hours. It's not that.
mm,
It's a lot of drilling. It is physical, but I've had One of my students is 67. Her age gets older every time that I mention it. I'm like, yeah, she's 93, whatever. Um, she's done the seminar and she had to sit and watch and take notes for part of it. That's fine. Like, it's 14 hours, so you're not expected to have your gear on and spar the whole time. And in fact, we'll have our gear on for a couple hours of it, but a lot of it is breakdowns, drills, earn progression. How do you take this and implement it back in your school? A little bit of time for Q&A, some time reading the chart, but it is very physical. We are going to be up hitting pads a lot and hopefully giving you new ideas for 1,000 new drills that you can teach in your school.
So let me put this in my own words and see if it matches. It's going to be physical, but it's not designed to murder you. It's going to be a class you're going to learn. If you're afraid of a 7-hour workout, you maybe should
It's
be
not
afraid of
that.
it, but you shouldn't be afraid of this seminar. It's a class, um, drilling and that sort of thing. But they're gonna be using their bodies, but they're really gonna be using their brains. If
That's
I were
right.
to,
Yeah.
cool.
And rank doesn't matter. We had in Fargo, we had yellow belts and 8th-degree black belts in the same room. And so don't let that, if you're a color belt, come to the seminars for age 12 and up. Anybody can come. So.
Very cool. And so it's gonna be 14 hours of training. So it's gonna be 2 days, 14 hours of training. Just like Live Extreme. Cost is $249 for mind blowing value. This is a do not miss for those that are like. And what I remember about Live Extreme weapons, and also there's the pin system for this one as well.
That's right.
So where but it's one of those things where it's like you don't walk away like great, I took a class, but you walk away with the how to upgrade yourself playbook. Like, can you get like
Yes, sir.
the pin system? Obviously, Ubers wouldn't be the thing here.
No, so the
Unbroken
pin
reps.
system is based on reps. So we have a 50 rep pin and a 100 rep pin. That is when you've run this many reps of all we call them plays. Master Grayson and I refer to every drill as a play, just like if you were going to run a play on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
And the play takes it all the way through every method of how we would teach. So you've run reps on it, but you've also added a recovery option. Like, how would you follow that up? And then you've done something to make it ring ready, like adding movement to it, hitting pads, whatever. And once you've done 50 reps of that on every single play that we wrote in the manual, that's the blue pin. You do that again 50 times, so for 100 total reps, and then that's the red pin. So far, we've had 3 people earn a red pin in level 1. There is a level 2 version of the seminar now. It just dropped at Master Tokar School earlier this year. He was the first to host it. I've got another one in Kansas City and another one in Chicago later this year. That's level 2. So maybe we can get back out there for a level 2, but we got to do level 1 first.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's all the time we have. Everybody, what I'll do is
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to have Master Bentley out here with his energy, knowledge, and all that good stuff. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to make sure I'm going to post the link to the sign up page. This one, hey, Kaiser HA, you're not signing up through me on this one. You're actually signing up directly. Master Bentley has the link on this one. But what we'll do is we're going to share, around this video, we're going to share the link. And then again, this one is 30 spots. Once the 30 spots are there, they are gone. So
Yes,
again, I talked about how we're I'm over here promoting our regional camp really hard, ATA Northwest Experience. That one, I mean, Aldersgate can handle up to 450 people, but we want to be able to prepare, so please sign up soon. But that's for everybody. This one's gonna be not exclusive people wise, but exclusive time wise. If you
yes.
want in on this, get in on this. And remember, this is open to Oregon, Washington, Canada, Idaho. It's open to everybody, but that's the main people that are going to show up. So
Everybody.
it's
I'm
not just
teaching in
you in your
Nebraska this
school.
weekend if you want to come there, or Phoenix next weekend if you want to go there. But
There you go.
Oregon's the best, right? It's the best.
Oregon is the best. My parents my parents moved here when I was 4 years old. They were military, moved around, and my dad got restationed down to California, and they agreed to stay here because they liked raising us. So
Wow.
my mom joked about being a happily married single parent, and I had to adults at church would very awkwardly you can talk to us, buddy. And I know. And how are mom and dad doing? They're doing great. It's but your dad lives in California.
Never seen
Yeah.
him before, right?
Is that weird? I don't even, anyway, so that's how much my family liked Oregon. They stayed here even when dad moved away, and then he came back
Nice.
here when I was 10. So
Wow.
yeah,
It must be a
as
great
long as you
place.
can handle rain, as long as you can handle rain. So
Well, do you have a rainy season or is it just rain all the time?
we have a really rainy up to May, and then we got a few sprinkles in June, and then that's game. So yeah, but when
So
you come out,
September's a good time.
it'll probably be starting to stay warm. No, September 9th and 10th, it's gonna feel like summer. It'll be summer, literally. So
Very
yeah,
good.
yeah, good time. It won't be. What was it? I remember like you sending a video to Master Isaacs of you shoveling the snow out of your yard. Like, can I come over to
That was
Florida
because he
yet?
had his tournament in February down there, and I was like, dude, I cannot wait to get down there. There's so much snow here. Yeah.
All right. So September, Master Bentley, we're excited to have you out here, and
Thank
everybody
you.
see the link, get signed up, and this is going to be awesome. All right.
Thank you, Master Clues. Thanks, Miss Ennis, for having me out. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Bye, everybody.